Another threat is bioterrorism. The swine flu attacks, which were there in places in cities like Pune and Bombay, were they really swine flu attack, or it was some kind of a virus which was being spread by the enemies of the country? Of course, aim is not to create a scare of bioterrorism, but definitely we need to look at these cases with microscope, so that should there be any act of subversion which is taking place because of inimical power to this country, we can stop it at an early stage. Uh, Last year we had flash floods taking place in the Uttarakhand state of ours, and a very big damage took place there. It was attributed to the cloud burst which took place in Uttarakhand, in which literally thousands of crores of property was destroyed and half the state was destroyed. Was it only because of flash flood, or was it an environmental warfare launched against us? There were definitely reports in some English newspapers which talked about could these flash floods have been triggered because of cloud seeding done by the inimical country. Presently, we do not have adequate evidence to prove or disprove either way, but what is important is any such natural disaster taking place, we need to keep our eyes and ears open and ensure that our agencies, investigative agencies, investigate them to check up whether it was a natural cause or whether it was engineered by the countries which are inimical to our national interest. Definitely, Uttarakhand disaster requires to be investigated in more detail. The next, in fact, another issue of environmental damage which can be caused to us is Brahmaputra river, which is being dammed by China in Tibet. Should the waters of this Brahmaputra river be released in one go, it can cause terrible floods. You will recall that the Bihar was flooded 2 years back because of flash floods which took place in the Kosi river, which actually was originating in Nepal. Floods in Nepal created a havoc into our Bihar state. So such environmental kind of weapons which are causing a lot of harm because of natural disasters have also to be looked at carefully to ensure that it is not used as a weapon by certain enemies of our country. The next issue is of nuclear terrorism. This keeps on coming into the media at regular intervals. There are 2-3 fears which exist in the mind. Can a nuclear bomb be got in a suitcase and exploded somewhere? What has to be understood is this is an unnecessary scare which is being spread by the enemies. It is not easy to carry a nuclear bomb because nuclear weapons always remain under tight security, and various components of the nuclear bomb are kept at separate places. But should a mad scientist or a team of mad scientists help terrorists to manufacture a bomb which can be smuggled into our country and then detonated at a place of own choosing, can it cause so much of damage? Well, this is a question. All that can be said right now is there are no miniaturized bombs that are available now, but science and technology is advancing at a fast speed. Should nanotechnology be available, then miniaturized nuclear bomb which can be carried by 1 or 2 people may be made available within few years. So we need to keep a tab of all such technologies which are emerging and ensure that these technologies do not reach especially Pakistan, which can fall in the hands of terrorist activities. Presently, this threat is overstated and we need not worry too much about it. But what is more possible is the dirty bomb or causing damage to our own installations, which will ensure that some radiations get leaked out to the environment. So we need to improve protective layer around are such nuclear establishments like nuclear reactors, nuclear research activities. These are the various forms of terrorism to whom which can be utilized by the enemies of our country. The terrorists are always looking in for new ideas and new means. While we did not worry too much about these, but we should be aware as to should this kind of a thing be used by the terrorists as to what things we can do. Basically, one-line solution for all such attacks is disaster management, and today our country is advanced reasonably well as far as disaster management is concerned, by which we will be able to control damage which is caused because of such bigger terrorist activity. But what is more important today is what is required to be done by the political parties. We need to have a common minimum program by all political parties which must be reflected in their manifestos. Of course, it is not necessary that a political party follows the manifesto which it publishes on its website. But if it publishes a manifesto, then at least it gives it a guideline as to what it is supposed to be doing should it come to power. Without taking names, what can be talked about is that except one major political party, all the political parties in a manifesto of 30 to 40 pages have just given one page to national security. So it tells you as to how unimportant they think is the national security. Most of the regional parties like the Samajwadi Party, the BSP and Naveen Patnaik's party and AAP, etc. have absolutely no mention in their manifesto of what are their views on national security. The Election Commission must ensure that every political party which is fighting an election must give its views and its action plan of what it will do with regard to national security should it regain power in any part of the country. And there has to be a common minimum program which is acceptable to all the political parties so that the political parties do not hold national security to ransom. One such example was this AAP Army party. Very recently, Mr. Prashant Bhushan gave a comment that we should have plebiscite in Kashmir. Obviously, it's an anti-national views. Luckily, the party disowned itself. But what we have to remember is that Mr. Prashant Bhushan is a very pedigreed lawyer, and when he says something, he will not say it just by mistake. It will obviously be with some intention. So, we must ensure that all political parties, before they take part in any form of elections, put their views on various facets of national security on their website so that the voting public is able to judge this party by virtue of what is available in its polling manifesto. What is the policy of any political party with regard to Naxalism? What is the action which political parties will take to improve coastal security? What is the policy of political parties with regard to demographic invasion which is taking place in northeast of India? What is the opinion of political parties on having tougher laws on terrorism? What is the opinion of political parties on how to fast track cases with regard to terrorism? There are hundreds of issues of national security, and each party must ensure that its complete action plan with regard to all important facets of national security is put on their websites so that general public, before it makes up its mind whether to vote for party A or party B, is able to decide by reading the manifestos as to which party has a better plan for ensuring good national security of this country. This is most important, and we as voting public must ensure. because it has been said in Panchatantra that out of all the gifts that a king can give, it is not the gift of gold, it is not the gift of cows, or it is not the gift of wealth which the rulers need to give to the common public, it is the gift of security. Any ruler or any ruling party which is not capable of protecting its own common people under various threats should not be allowed to rule. So we must ensure that we elect only those political parties which have a clear-cut agenda on how to ensure national security of India. Thank you. We need to ask all the political parties to clear their policies with regard to China and Pakistan. For example, today China is increasing trade with our country. Should we let our imports from China exceed exports? That is what is creating a slide for our rupee. We are permitting China to intrude into our economy. They are carrying out economic subversions. They are entering our power sector. They are entering certain critical sectors like communication. Should we allow the Indian manufacturing sector to die because China can provide few services cheaper than what our Indian companies can provide? All these things have to be made very, very clear. In addition to this, China is intruding into Ladakh and in Arunachal at regular intervals. Should we tell them that if you do not stop behaving properly, we will not increase trade with you? Why should we always be bowing down to various requirements of China? So there are many facets of China policies which are not clearly been thought over by the political parties, and all the political parties before they enter the election arena should clear out their policies with regard to China. With regard to Pakistan, despite the fact that there is statistical evidence to suggest that ISI has been bleeding India by 1,000 cuts, many political parties feel that India and Pakistan can be a friend. What kind of a friendship do we want with Pakistan? Should not there be any demonstrable evidence to suggest that Pakistan has closed all the terrorist producing factories in Pakistan? Should we not tell Pakistan that till the time you stop infiltrating terrorists into our country, we will not have other economy or other relations with you? Should we break Pakistan into more than 2 or 3 parts? How helpful is it to have increased trade with Pakistan? So there are many facets of the India-Pakistan policies which had to be clearly be debated and brought out in the in the manifesto of each political party, so that educated voters can decide whether the policy followed by party A with regard to Pakistan, is it correct or is it not correct. Only when this is put in their manifesto, the voters will be able to decide as to which party is handling national security in a better manner. Thank you. I am Brigadier Hemant Mahajan, who is putting nearly 37 years of service in the Indian Army. I was commissioned into 7th Maratha Light Infantry, one of the famous battalions of Indian Army, in June 1975. During my service, I have taken part on all the operations in which Indian Army participated from 1975 onwards. I have taken part on anti-terrorist operation in Jammu and Kashmir, anti-infiltration operations which Indian Army did again on the line of control in Jammu and Kashmir. During the peak of terrorism in Punjab, we were involved in Operation Raksha in Punjab. In addition to this, I have served on the Rajasthan and the other Pakistani, Indo-Pakistan borders. I have served on the Indo-China borders, on the Indo-Myanmar borders, and we have taken part in various operations which took place, including serving in Andaman and Nicobar Islands. For all the action that we did in Kashmir, my battalion was awarded unit citation and about 19 gallantry awards. Again, when I was commanding a brigade in Jammu and Kashmir, again a lot of awards were won by my brigade. My last 4 years of my service in the army, I joined Army War College, where I was teaching officers of the rank of colonels in the higher command course. After my retirement on 31st January 2009, I've been writing very regularly in various newspapers on various facets of national security, both in Marathi and in English. I've been taking part on various debates on the TV channels, in the Marathi TV channels, 24 hours news channels, Hindi TV channels, and also some of the English TV channels. In addition to this, we are taking part in many seminars based upon national security. I'm a member of 2 think tanks, Center for Advanced Strategic Studies based in Pune and Forum for Integrated National Security, which is based in Bombay. One is involved in talking on various facets of national security on many talks which are coordinated by various NGOs. For my service in the army, I was awarded Yuddha Seva Medal for the good work that I had done, a gallantry award in Kashmir. In addition, I have been awarded Chief of Army Staff's Commendation Card. Swatantra Veer Savarkar Rashtriya Smarak asked me to I am on the working committee of Swatantra Veer Savarkar Rashtriya Smarak, and on their behalf we have produced some films covering various facets of national security. The films include India's external security, that is how we should deal with China and Pakistan. Second is how should we deal with our borders during peacetime with Bangladesh, with Nepal, Myanmar and Sri Lanka. How should we look after the coastal security? We face serious internal security problems. We have covered 4 of these. These are the extent the Naxalism in our country today is increasing exponentially. How do we counter the threat of Naxalism or Maoism? Kashmir proxy war is still going on. What else can we do in Kashmir? Northeast India is being converted into a Bangladesh. How do we meet the challenge of stopping Bangladeshization of Northeast? And how do we stop bomb blasts that are taking place in the rest of the country? All these films are in English. One film is in Marathi, in which we have spoken as to how do we take on the challenge of the Chinese dragon. In addition, there is one film on motivation. One young soldier, Lieutenant Vijayan Thapar, how he sacrificed his life. It's a film which will motivate the younger generation. I am sure that you will enjoy listening to these films, and you should pass it on to, you should pass on the contents of these videos to as many friends and relations as possible, so that the spirit of national security is imbibed by every citizen of the country. Jai Hind.